Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy. 4 nerds, by nerds, hang out. These nerds.
I'm Scott.
Nathan Nerdark.
Ted.
Join us as we do another edition of What Do You Bring to Your Table? We're going to be talking about miniatures. In this description below, you can find a link to the various miniatures we're going to be discussing in this video.
Hey guys, jump down to the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter. It's a great way to get gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
So miniatures have been a part of D&D from the very beginning, pretty much, right? Matter of fact, D&D spawned from playing strategic war games, essentially.
Absolutely,
right?
Yep.
So it only makes sense that then those miniatures that kind of spawn the game end up back in it. And from the very earliest inception, you know, the name that I think of and remember is Ralpartha. I don't know if they exist in any form in this day and age, if they were bought by...
I don't think Ralpartha's putting out much now today. Yeah.
Whether they were bought out by another company or what the evolution was from there. Then, you know, it all pretty much kind of stayed the same. You know, you had pewter minis up until the release of 3rd edition. And I feel like Wizards of the Coast really revitalized the mini market by introducing pre-painted miniatures in the random blister packs.
Absolutely. And you guys know that I spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on those random blister packs.
Yes.
I spent a bit as well. I have a few. And it was also the best minis for your money to date. You know, I believe Gal Force 9 has the license now from Wizards of the Coast, and I feel like the miniatures are smaller, they're inferior, they don't look as good, they cost more. In every way that they could be inferior, they are, in my opinion. Like, I feel like 3rd edition was like the pinnacle for miniatures.
Well, I mean, being really the pinnacle, being right behind Scott here, being the massive red dragon, the colossal red dragon.
Yeah, well, you also had the gargantuan dragons that are above. You know, so it was just such a good era for minis for what you got for your money.
Right, I agree. Now, there's a lot of people who sit there and they question, okay, I want to have representation at the table, but what's it going to be? Now, before 3rd edition, we used dice. It was D4s for the good guys and D6s for the adversaries. And, you know, these guys laugh, and it's exactly what we did.
We built our walls out of miniature Kit Kats.
These days, you're assaulted with plenty of options, and it depends upon really where you want to go. Now, if you're interested, Pathfinder and D&D both have a pre-painted miniature line where you buy that blister pack and you don't know what you're going to get. It's roughly 4 minis for $15, and the price point isn't all that great considering what you're going to get.
Doesn't Gal Force, don't they do both?
I believe so.
Both lines. And like, this is the kicker, right? The Pathfinder line is so much better.
You mean the Pathfinder minis?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they're doing... Yeah, it's a good question. My take, one thing I want to kind of call out here is I'm a huge miniatures guy, but I don't paint, which puts me kind of into an unusual position. So the pre-painteds are really nice. The other thing that I will just throw out there, too, is you guys are talking about, oh, here's the blister packs. I'm going to go buy them. I've never bought minis like that. And one of the things is, because there are a lot of people like you who do buy the blisters, there's actually collectability in them, and there is a very robust aftermarket. So I can go and buy 20 archers on eBay for, for like probably $20, and that's way cheaper, and you can get exactly what you want. So that's not the only way to buy them. And actually, because D&D minis have been around so long, there is actually a very robust aftermarket for the minis.
If you're looking for those commons and uncommons, but if you're looking for that rare mini that was done really well, that's a PC type thing, or that cool monster that everybody loves, you're going to pay ridiculous prices for them.
That's true.
And I've been down that road as well, because you can only buy so many blister packs before it's like, all right, I want that one thing, and I'm not finding it. Yeah. But you're saying that you don't paint. Well, there are some people that do wind up going down that, well, I'm willing to assemble and paint it and pay a cheaper price per mini just to get that thing that I want. And that's where the Bones line by Reaper comes in, and I've spent a considerable amount of money on the Bone stuff as well. I'm waiting for the Kickstarter for Bones 3. hopefully I get it before they release Bones 4, because believe me, they're already talking about it. And, you know, here's my Wereshark that I actually, it's a Bones mini. I painted it. I'm not super fantastic at it. I'm happy with it, though.
Well, it also becomes this extension hobby, too, for tabletop RPGs. Is some people just enjoy doing the painting and putting together the minis and cleaning them up or customizing them and all that. I'm like Scott. It's not my thing. I'm not good at it. I don't enjoy doing it. I loved when 3rd edition came out. I could just go buy the minis and I can plop them on my table. 4th edition minis were really nice too because they actually came with cards.
Yep.
So you had the stats and everything. I wish we could get back to that, but I don't see it in the near future.
Well, one other thing I would throw out there, if you're talking about minis, you're absolutely right. We have Reaper Bones really changed the game a lot. They had some really successful Kickstarters, and there are literally tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of those minis out there, and you can find them in almost all friendly local gaming shops now. But also, just to be clear, these are all 28 millimeter miniatures, right? And on the same scale is Warhammer from Citadel, and that is the fantasy-based game from Warhammer 40K. And also, War Machine is on the same scale as D&D minis. And so War Machine is out there with Primal and Hordes as well. And the reason why I'm saying it is there are two markets. There are guys who buy brand new from the box, and there are guys who wait until you guys have bought your stuff and then buy from them.
Right.
And you can get some amazing miniatures from literally 30 years of Citadel putting out awesome war, like elves, dwarves, the whole nine, and they're still doing it right now. Warhammer Age of Sigmar is fantastic, and they just did the 3rd edition of War Machine, which has Primal and Hordes. Tons of awesome monsters, really cool stuff in there as well. Another source.
Now, I know some of you out there are fighting with that quandary of, okay, well, I want to use stuff at the table, but space is an issue, and do I paint, do I not paint, price point? Well, there are other alternatives that are out there.
Yeah.
And, one of them is our friends over at Arcnight. They have the flat plastic miniatures. And there's a lot of glare on this, I'm sorry, guys. But you have double-sided minis, and their price point per miniature is actually really decent. And the minis are front and back, so you can actually see which way the things are actually facing.
Yeah, they're facing.
The extra pieces around it are actually clear, but they're all based the same size, and you can then take a whole box full of stuff and say, all right, I've got this, and it's all stacked nice and neat. Whether it be that you're looking for, my guys are going to be, or my players are going to be facing a skeletal horde. Well, they have a skeletal horde pack. Okay, you want monsters? Well, they have monsters. And you can just go buy the pack that specifically has what you want, be it NPCs, be it PCs, be it monsters, be it, the underground caverns. And I've got a small collection of their stuff, and I'm looking to acquire more. They currently have a Kickstarter going, but it's really good stuff.
Arcnight, that's also where we got like the Colosseum and...
Yes, they also do, they have spell effects as well as they have tile sheets that you can put down.
They also have wagons and ships and all kinds of cool stuff.
I'd say for this, if you're hurting for space, this is a good thing to pick out. For
space wise, Arcnight is going to be your best option.
Good full color art, and you get the mini point across of where everybody is, so you're not using theater of the mind.
Yeah,
now,
and you can bring 50 minis in the space of what would be 2 coffee cups. It really is fantastic from a storage perspective. It's really nice.
Additionally, there's also the Pathfinder Pawns, but the Summon Pack as well as the Bestiary Box has a large assortment of your standard D&D monsters that you'd be able to use. The Bestiary Box has basically enough stuff to cover most of the entries in your 5th edition monster manual, and the Summon Pack is all about elementals and animals. Now, between those two boxes, once you get out all of the packaging, it all fits in this one little box, and there is literally over 400 monsters.
Yeah.
That all fit nice and neat in this one little box that happens to be the exact same size as your manuals. And they have everything from itty bitty teeny tiny to what would be your huge size for the current iteration of the game. I got both the bestiary box and the pawns for Christmas. And it's like, okay, now let's actually talk about it. I was, significantly impressed by its collapsibility into a nice sized box that I can then put on a shelf and not have to worry about, okay, how much space does these 400 minis take up?
How many totes do you need?
Well, and so the Pathfinder Pawns are my absolute favorite minis by far. And the reason for storage, for price, and for variety, right? So for Dungeons and Dragons. So I use them for Dungeons and Dragons. And the thing is, you can have a female wizard, you can have an elf female wizard, you can have a male dwarf wizard, and you're going to find those in the NPC Codex box, in the bestiary. So I have the NPC Codex box, I have the bestiary box, and I had the Skull and Shackles box. And between those, you're talking easily 600 minis. I think to get the same thing would be well over $1,000, $2,000 in regular minis. So,
well, I mean, if you're going to buy regular minis, you're looking anywhere from $1 to $5 per miniature.
Exactly. So it would be. So you're looking at in 3 boxes that cost about $100. You're looking to make the equivalent in regular. It could be $3,000 to $5,000.
Yeah. The retail on the back of this box is $44.99.
Yeah.
I want to say that
the best value.
The summon monster pack was only 19. So it says $24.99 here, but I believe I had seen it on Amazon for 19.
Right, and you get them on Amazon. You can get them even less.
So let's talk some experience tips here. So one, you and I have both used a lot of different mini types.
Absolutely.
One thing that I really like to do is so I have, let's say you have the D&D minis, right? One thing that is a really fun way to do this, and I think it makes it clear for the players and allows you to experiment a little bit. So if you have some D&D type minis, the pre-painteds, you can actually fit out your entire party with those, right? And so they're actually painted, they're 3D, they move around, right? Then your NPCs could be your monsters could be the Pathfinder Pawn types, and then you could even bring in, let's say there's an NPC which is also a party. It's not monsters that are just going to attack them, but it's another NPC party. You could do them with Arcnight. And so when the players look down, they're saying, oh, I clearly know that all of the 3D miniatures are us as a party. All the Pathfinder miniatures, which have a white background, those are creatures and beasts that are going to attack anybody and everybody.
Enemies.
And there is an NPC party, in the Arcnight. And so that's a way that you can mix what you have that can really be kind of a visual cue to people on what's on the table.
If you use all of them, it clearly can be the lines of faction.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of easy ways to go about doing it if you use them all. You're going to choose what works best for you. I like having my options, and I'm going to get whatever I can get.
Yeah, if I, in this day and age, if I had to start over and I didn't have access to all the minis that Ted has or the minis that I have at home already, I would go with Pawns or I would go with flat packs from Arcnight just because I'm so disappointed with what my pre-painted options are.
So actually, I'll jump in there. I'm actually thrilled with the current pre-painted, and the reason why is, I'll throw this out there. If nobody's playing it yet, there's a game called Frostgrave, and Frostgrave is a fantasy skirmish war game that was just created, and it was created by Osprey Games, who is they publish books and they do not make minis, right? And because of that, rules as written, it says you can use any 28 millimeter scale miniature, which means that the D&D miniatures can be used in that game. And it's actually, the entire game is 2 D&D parties going into a frozen city, pulling out treasure and bringing them out again. So there is, right now, it came out in 2016, there's a brand new fantasy skirmish war game that was specifically designed for you, right? Because if you own minis, this game is, it's the super weirdest game ever. It's like, we know you own minis. This game, bring them all to the table. put together these different groups and play with them. So Frostgrave's in there in the mix, and I think we've gotten to a point where the war games are actually impinging on the TRPGs, and the TRPGs are going back and getting minis in from them. But the fact that I can still get if I want an elf warrior with a bow and they have a two-handed, they have a dagger in this hand, because they're still printing those minis, I can get it, which I really like the current stuff. So I think there are some fans who are like, I love that they're still printing pre-painteds, and I can get them just like I could in 3rd edition.
All right, so I'll throw out one more possible option, and that's the high-end market. As if you're into,
Oh man,
if you don't have a problem painting and you don't have a problem paying, you don't want to overlook Hero Forge.
yeah, it's amazing.
You know, I love their stuff because you can honestly, and your comment about it's got a dagger in that one hand, you honestly do have the ability to completely tailor the character to be exactly what you want. I actually gave Dave one as a birthday present. It's actually up there. Should be up there.
Yeah, it's the old one. Yeah, I remember that. Oh, yeah. No, that's the unpainted,
yeah,
I think. Yeah.
But you honestly have the ability to say, all right, I want... my hand is... There we go. You have the ability to say, all right, this is exactly what I want this character to look like, and they 3D print it and ship it to you, and then you can paint it there. Atlantis Miniatures.
Atlantis Miniatures, talking high end, is another way to go.
Yeah.
Again, you have to paint them again, but these are like the most fantastic,
Their stuff's fantastic.
detailed miniatures I think I've ever seen.
Yes, their stuff is incredibly pricey, but worth it. I don't think everything translates over into the right size, but if you're willing to take something that looks like a troll and you want to call it some giant,
It works.
it absolutely works.
On the bigger stuff, the scale is a little bit off, but the other stuff I think is still scalable.
Right.
I also wanted to mention another source. There is an incredible amount of sources for minis right now. A great source for tabletop role for D&D scale minis is board games. So one, D&D has made multiple board games now, which you could take the minis right out of, which is really fantastic. And there are a lot of players who bought those for no other reason than the minis. And then also, we bought a few last year. Magic the Gathering did some great board games that had perfectly scaled D&D minis.
I honestly just picked up. They had on sale the newest expansion of Innistrad.
Yeah.
And I got them for $9.
Yeah.
So like they're literally en route.
Yeah, and I think that speaks a lot to the power of Dungeons and Dragons. The fact that it's such a huge market, nobody really brings out minis that aren't on the scale of D&D anymore because they're not usable in other veins. And there's another source of great, really cheap minis, which is failed miniatures games, right? And I'll throw,
Go on eBay and search Mage Knight.
Yeah, Mage Knight is, and then there was one
Dreamscape.
from
Dreamscape had all kinds of really weird stuff.
Yeah.
Dreamscape is the weird stuff. If you want to kind of go into the Cthulhian or the Dream realm, you can use that kind of stuff. But Mage Knight has a lot of very fantasy typical stuff. There literally was an Elven line, an Undead line, Draconic type stuff.
Yeah, and there's a hot one right now called Golem Arcana. So Golem Arcana just failed, and you can go swoop those minis up for a song. Yeah.
I was up in Hackettstown checking out a game store called Dragon's Horde, and Craig, the owner, was talking to me. He's introducing me to this new game, Malifaux. I don't know.
Yeah, Malifaux is
it's
French.
like Warhammer.
Yep.
It's like Warhammer.
It's French Warhammer. Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like the miniatures are unpainted, but I think they're good quality. I was checking them out, and I was impressed.
Really cool stuff. And yeah, so there's just no end of supplies. And one of the great things you could do with these is you can bring these into a D&D game and have something really unique that people don't know what it is, and so that's kind of cool to throw them for a twist. But yeah.
So I'm going to kick the dead horse one more time with my grognardness when it comes to pre-painted miniatures, right? So behind me, and you guys have seen it on the table, is a Colossal Red Dragon. Well, someone was showing off, one of the latest Tiamat, right, on their YouTube channel, and I'm friends with them online. And when it first came out, I'm looking at it going, it's pathetic. I want to smash that thing when I see it.
It's like this big.
It's tiny. The sculpts aren't even that
Are
great.
you seriously? It's that big?
Yeah. When you can, the Dragonflight game, I think
If you want Tiamat. That's what you're looking for. I don't even know whether you can see it back there above Nate's head, but you want the Mage Knight version of Tiamat. That's Tiamat.
It's I found it actually insulting that they put that out and they're okay with that. Like
I've got an aspect of Tiamat that falls into the old style of huge, and it's not bad. But the new one, it's
terrible.
Yeah.
It doesn't even look good. Like it's the details not that great, and like when the colossal red dragon can just eat it, you know, it's like a third to 25% of the size, and it just doesn't. It looks like plastic.
I think the Colossal Red Dragon sold for like $75 to $100 when it initially came out, and it has a market these days for about $400, and people pay it.
Wow.
Well, it's amazing. Like
Whoa.
I had gotten it for Ted for Christmas or something, and I had gotten a decent deal where I paid like $50 to $60 for it. And you know,
It's still the best piece in my collection.
so like that's why I say like the pinnacle of pre-painted miniatures to me, and probably will be until somebody else does something better, is third edition Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
They were doing it right. Some of the Pathfinder minis look really good, and it's so weird because it's the same company, but
it's hit or miss. I mean, some of the D&D minis aren't bad. I mean, it's not like their entire line needs to be scrapped and slagged for plastic.
recycle.
But it's one of those things that it's like, all right, this one came out really good, or this one is fantastic, but the rest, meh. And you have to really look at it and say, okay, well, is it worth the gamble? You know, is there a good sale on? You know, any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like I said, if I had to go back, I would just go Pawns. I mean, you know, I want a representation that's deeper. What you get for your money. Sure, why not? You know, fortunately, Ted has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on miniatures, and we have a ton of minis to work with, and they all look really good.
That is nice. Yeah, it is nice. I think one of the things, though, that is one of the reasons why we've landed where we've landed is there was a pinnacle, and I think you're right. There were these super high detail, very nice miniatures, but it actually scared a lot of players away, and I have to say I'm one of those players, right? So I'm trying to play. So basically, when you have the tie-in stuff and you have to get all the painting, it's awesome for those people who are deep into the hobby, but it's really daunting and it really kind of shies a lot of players away. And so if you can have a Tiamat, there's probably 10,000 people who are going to buy that Tiamat and have it on their table. Whereas when you have this right now, that would cost $100 to $200 to make, and that might be a great product for maybe 500 people, maybe 1,000. So I think they're thinking about more people having the product, and the product being a little less than the product being perfect, and way less people having the product. And I think that's the direction the industry has gone. And I, as a player, have hugely benefited from that because I've been much more drawn to miniatures now that miniatures are cheaper and there's more options.
I mean, that's the great part about opinions.
Yeah, there you go.
I need a Men in Black flashy thing so I can forget all those cool minis from third edition,
There you go.
and then I would be okay.
All right, so how about you guys down in the comments? Let us know what type of thing you use at your table. What have we drawn you towards? Let us know what you think. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Can check out funny memes over on Facebook.
Oh, and also remember nerdarchy.com, where you'll find lots of great written content covering World of Darkness, all kinds of indie games, as well as Dungeons and Dragons.
You also patronize us in a good way over on Patreon.
So until next time, stay nerdy.